make a move and the bunny gets it.
I said, put the bunny back in the box. Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
It's showtime.
Roar. Roar.
Colonel Ironsides here. 200 years I stood in the gap, fighting those who would harm my country. It was my honor, my sacred duty, so help me God. 9 times they took my life. 9 times I stood back up and made them pay. The freedom fighter I could handle anything, but someone betrayed me. I was ambushed, made mortal, rendered powerless, and retired. They passed an amendment that made me a civilian before I left the hospital. For 50 years, I watched my country change. Watched this work while erasing me from history. The day I quit my job, I powered up and discovered they lied about that too. I'll remind them of freedom. I'll remind them of duty. I'll remind them of their oaths and who they serve. I'll remind them while I'm shoving it down their throats.
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I want to know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I want to know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Excuse me. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the rabbit hole. I almost canceled tonight because today hasn't been the best. I got a $2,000 bill for my car repairs, which I'm going to have to take out a loan for. I got one lined up, but ouch. Also been dealing with some botulism for most of the day. Note to self: don't go to a mom and pops that looks like they get their workers from Waffle House cast-offs. Okay, and also note to self: when you see a place that has a lot of regulars and nobody gets the dessert, take that as a warning sign. And also, when you go to the register and you see a cake plate out there on the counter that has the pie that you just consumed in it, no telling how long it'd been there, you might get botulism. Anyway, so hopefully I'm okay for the time being. I'm trying to prevent some dehydration. On the plus side, after this, I'm going to immediately go and check out my weight on the scale because I'm fairly certain I have dropped some pounds. Anyway. Oh, all right. So today, let me see. We already got some comments out here. Thank you guys for coming. So, Creatives Outlet Nerds. thank you for your usual. Does Christian pop culture also include music? If so, have gone down the rabbit hole discovering a bunch of new artists to me. Well, if you want to pop on and talk about it, Houch, hey, Copper. I've actually, people misspell Cooper all the time as Copper, so I'm good with that. Botulism, what is this, the Dark Ages? Well, in deepest, darkest North Carolina, truck stop, diner, yeah, evidently we still can get botulism from time to time. Case in point. This guy. Anyway, so yeah, now, after I kind of like planned this show, I realized that there is a event that's happening right now that is probably going to impact the worldview of the pop culture we get for the foreseeable future. Hollywood is literally burning down. Literally burning down. There's been several like eyewitness videos of the Hollywood sign with flames all around it. So it's almost literal at this point. Never eat at a truck stop unless it's Buc-ee's. Well, we don't have a Buc-ee's yet. We have one that's about to open, but it's not open yet. So, in other words, don't go to a mom and pop's. Go to a commercialized chain. Okay, well, so is Waffle House. Waffle House is a commercialized chain. I've never gotten botulism from a Waffle House, so maybe there's something to that. Maybe they have like some standards that the ordinary mom and pops do not, especially waitresses who have stitch scars, like on their arms or something. Oh, it was weird. Anyway, all right, that's neither here nor there. All right, so moving past the warning signs that you might have a disease of the stomach in the near future. Let's talk about basically what I mean by Christian pop culture. What I mean is pop culture with a Christian worldview. Now, there's two competing worldviews. There's the worldview of the world, secular humanism, disguised as communism, disguised as other things, but it all comes back to secular humanism. Man is God. Okay? Or there is no God. Man is God. And all sorts of iterations of that. They also set up that what particular man is God, and for them it was Obama. I'll tell you what, it still is in a lot of ways. Who had a nice chin wag with Donald Trump today at Carter's funeral. Interesting. All right. So there's also another worldview. That's the Christian worldview. And the Christian worldview, that God is God and I am not. Christian, the secular humanistic worldview looks sideways, looks around, looks behind for its own, it's for all of its encouragement, all of its inspiration. Looks at other works of people that are secular humanists for their works for inspiration. And but the Christian worldview looks up, points up, keeps people's eyes pointed up. That there's a bigger world out there, that there is love in the world, there's affection, and it's humanistic worldview is a lot more is nihilistic, and if it has like compassion or whatever, the compassion is always coming from sources that aren't compassionate at all, like governmental sources and things like that, or they always like to the defense attorneys as savior, that one's always like, and it's all over culture. Defense attorney as Right now the biggest show on Netflix that has been for about 2 years now is a show called Suits, where the slimiest lawyer you've ever seen, the guy who always outslimes his opponent, takes on a protege who never went to law school but has like some kind of photographic memory that's actually impossible for a human to have, and takes him on and hides him as an attorney within the law firm. And a lot of the shenanigans that ensue is him protecting this guy. And then what happens is he gets discovered. And then what happens? Nothing. Then the law firm hides him. And so they, sorry. I watched all the seasons, and it never really gets addressed when ethical issues come up. It's never really addressed. It's more how do we dodge this? How do we get out of this? How do we lie our way past this? And so that's a humanistic worldview. That man is hero, man as savior, and morality, things like that. There's nobody in that show that's moral. There's nobody in that show that has any kind of morality. In fact, Lewis, one of the mainstays of the show, is one of the most disgusting characters that's ever been on television. He even looks like a rat. Anyway, but that's typical of a humanistic worldview. It's very popular on Netflix right now. I watched it. Let's see. Here's your sign. Yeah. Ready? Toxic. Definitely. Yeah. You should wear signs that say, I'm stupid, so you don't expect more of these people than they can give you. That is Bill Engvall. Look him up. He's hilarious. He's funnier than Jeff Foxworthy by far. Anyway, so when I talk about a Christian worldview, I'm talking about a resurgence of art that aims people's eyes upward, that has hope at its center, and sees like a higher power beyond people's ability, as the hero, as the savior, as the one who is going to either help them through it or save them from it. And Ordinary People, I think is the name of the movie. It's one that's recent with Alan Richardson and Hilary Swank in it. Let me get the actual name of it right quick. Based on a true story. I don't know how much of it was true, to be honest. But I know that there's some truth to it. Because I saw like interviews with the family, the actual family. But it's about this lady who sees this single father who just lost his wife, and he's all over the news because of how he lost his wife. And he's got daughters, but he's also got a daughter who is basically got a fatal disease. And she chooses to intervene and try to help. Let's see, where's it at? Okay, Ordinary Angels. It's not Ordinary People, it's Ordinary Angels. Yeah. But I didn't watch the movie because every time I watched the trailer, it made me cry. But basically, there's this moment that actually did happen. This actually did happen, where the young girl is in distress, and is a snow outside, and they can't. None of the EMTs or anybody can get in there to her, and so a local pilot says he's going to risk his Cessna to get her to the hospital. And a whole bunch of people show up and clear the snow for a runway. This is why I didn't play the trailer. It's ill today. That's why, and it's been an emotional roller coaster. Give me a minute. All right. Now I had that moment, but a movie studio rose up from the ashes of a concern that Disney tried to squash. It was called VidAngel, and Disney tried to crush it. And it's somehow, some way, they managed to make it out alive. And Disney actually had their own courthouse in LA where they squished people. And they went into that courthouse, and because of advice that they took from somebody who's a New York lawyer, so in this case, a lawyer's hero, they were able to sign a different agreement and get their bankruptcy moved out of LA into Utah. And because of that, they actually had a chance to show viability, and they basically hinged all their bets on a little show by Dallas Jenkins called The Chosen. And now The Chosen happens to be the most popular family entertainment in the world right now. It's on multiple platforms, including Angel Studios. But I watched it, and man, did they get the Bible right. They didn't get like chronologically right. They didn't get factually step by step right, but they told the story in a way that made it human, and the message was not watered down. And this is what we need. And Jordan Peterson did an interview with Dallas Jenkins, and while he was doing this interview with Dallas Jenkins, he told him, he's like, I normally can't watch propaganda of any type, whether it be positive, well-intentioned, or evil and negative. I can't watch propaganda. You know, my brain won't allow me to. He says, but I was able to watch your show and immensely enjoyed it. So Jordan Peterson can enjoy it. There you go. You respect him, then you'll like the show. But there is a counterfeit that is probably going to start showing up. And that counterfeit will be in the guise of church and Christian characters are the heroes, but the conclusions they come to are going to be secular humanist. And this has happened before. This is a cycle that's happened before. Hell, Wrangler. Hey, thanks for coming on Nerd Bacon this morning, man. Hope you enjoyed it. But the thing about it is how do you know the counterfeit? Because as our culture shifts, you're going to have people trying to make bank on it, that are going to try to slip in on this trend, you know. And trends usually take about 4 to 5 years to work their way through. But this is interesting because something happened that's never happened before. Sorry, folks. But something happened that's never happened before. There was a lot of effort made to marginalize Christian content, to shove it off to the side, to not even acknowledge it, not even give it any kind of like a rating or whatever. And if they did have a rating, it would just like ratio the crap out of it and ridicule it, right? Well, meanwhile, there's this whole group of people starving for this stuff that doesn't have secular humanism in it, doesn't have aberrant sexuality shoved in it, and they were looking for something with an upward view. The biggest cartoon in the world right now is one that's called Bluey, and Bluey's from Australia, okay? And Bluey has a family-oriented, positive worldview. But it doesn't pull punches. It has like really good messages in it. And that cartoon is the biggest in the world right now. Disney got a hold of it. And but the stipulation for Disney to get a hold of it is they couldn't change any of it. They could not change any of it. And because this thing was so big, Disney agreed to that. And so on Disney Plus is the show called Bluey that has family values and positive messages and rejects secular humanism. And it's the biggest thing on their platform, and it's keeping them afloat right now. And something happened over the summer. Inside Out, a sequel to another movie called Inside Out. It's Inside Out 2. The first one made me cry. Bing Bong. R.I.P. If you know, you know. But I'm crying a lot these days. Man, I'm like emotional all the time. What the heck's wrong with me? Jeez Louise. Anyway, so Inside Out 2 comes in, and evidently the first cut had the young girl being having a crush on another female classmate. And somebody at Disney said, no. We had one lesbian kiss in Buzz Lightyear, and it tanked at the box office. You're going to change this to a friendship. And so they had people in Pixar, the activists at Pixar, that quit because of it, because they were taking this out. And what happened? The biggest selling cartoon of all time over the summer. Because when people took their kids to this, like, then I know that they cooked their kids with like one eye open, watching for anything to come up. And they were very, very happy to find that there was no messages, or at least that there was no messages that wasn't family, that wasn't friendship oriented, or wasn't positive in some way, shape, or form. Anytime you enter sex into any relationship, you take it in a place that it's not meant to go, because sex should be between a man and a woman in a marital contract. And if you see our population numbers, you see that the sexual revolution has put a kibosh in family units, like at a level that nobody really anticipated it would ever happen. And they're getting killed right now in the population replacement numbers. And that's going to really affect us very shortly, because they killed off all the boomers with this vax. That wasn't a vax. It was actually a spike RNA murder project. My friend just lost her arm from a flu shot. So don't tell me what it is. But anyway, so this whole strata of people left. And a lot of those people had conservative worldviews, had Christian worldviews, had upper leaning, positive, some great grandmas and grandpas, who raised people because the parents were disaster areas. I know about 5 of them right now in my church, and so you take that out of the culture, what's going to replace it? People are going to miss that in the culture, and they're going to do their best to replace it. Because no matter what they tell you, the Christian worldview works for everybody. And right now you got pop culture that's a nihilistic secular humanism. And that only works for people who are already bought in. That you cannot evangelize using secular humanism because it's a dead end. Look at the new atheism that rose up. It's pretty much the embodiment of secular humanism, was all these philosophers that rose up and took the Mickey out of Christianity. And but every time they did a debate with somebody who had some kind of knowledge, some kind of eschatological knowledge, had some kind of like biblical training, they would lose their hat, lose their shirt. They would just be completely humiliated. And so instead of that, the atheism does very few debates. You'll find very few debates, because every time they came up against somebody with a Christian worldview, they got their butts handed to them, because ultimately nihilism and humanism doesn't work. And communism is basically if you took secular humanism and made a government out of it. That's what communism is. And it's flawed at its core. And it never works. It never has worked. It's just basically a meat grinder anywhere where it's tried, including California. How's that working out for them? I don't think it's working out well right now. Just my observation from outside as a casual observer. Now, Arizona has a lot of forest fires, and but Arizona, not the extreme upper echelon, which is corrupt puppet from the cartels, but from like the middle down is has a lot of Christian worldviews, and when they have fires, which are not helped by the winds, they actually come together and take care of it. That's why you don't hear about many big fires in Arizona. There's one that you heard about, but it's because all these brave men died fighting it. And, by the way, all of them were Christian, fighting for their community. Wonder why that story's never been. I think there's been a movie or two out on it. But that's an incredible story. Look it up. But it's also a memorial out there I'd like to visit someday. But basically, there's a starvation right now for Christian worldview out in society, and I'm saying Christian worldview because even though it comes from biblical precepts, it comes from the teachings of one Jesus Christ, and points people in the direction of a God being that loves them and has the best at heart for them. It doesn't always take that shape, but if it has the look up, faith, belief in each other, belief in a higher power to it, then it's ultimately a Christian worldview. And right now, that stuff is working. a couple years ago, over 4th of July weekend, a movie called Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny, comes out into theaters. But it is a shambling, zombified wreck of the original Indiana Jones, which had a Christian worldview. And they tried this before with the Crystal Skull Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls. They tried it before, and that movie bombed. And so they doubled down, and they made another Indiana Jones with without a Christian worldview, and it failed at the box office because the next weekend it went up against a movie called The Sound of Freedom. Remember that studio that I mentioned earlier that Disney tried to squash? They took VidAngel off of it and put Angel on it to keep it separate from the settlement. And one of the first big movie projects that they put out was something called The Sound of Freedom. Now, it's a hard movie to watch. I still haven't brought myself up to watch it. But it has a openly Christian man in the lead, Jim Caviezel. Stars a Mormon. It's telling the story of a Mormon who basically left homeland and started a organization that's rescuing human trafficked children all over the world. Now, that movie comes in and it's got an interesting story. It's set on the shelves of Disney for 5 years because 20th Century Fox was going to put it out, and then Disney acquired 20th Century Fox and they shelved it. The same Disney that tried to destroy VidAngel shelved this movie. But then there was a fire sale because Disney was like losing assets left and right because of the shift to secular worldview. And they started selling, and this guy approached them, I can't remember his name, but it's Verostigi or something like that. He's Brazilian. He approached them and he says, I want my movie back. I will buy my movie back. And so they set a price. I think it was $2 million. He had to crowdfund to get that $2 million, but he got it. And he acquired it from Disney. But he was looking to put it out. And there was only one place that he thought was brave enough to give Disney a black eye. Angel Studios. So they went to Angel Studios. And Angel says, we don't pick our movies. Our guild does. The people, we have a group of people, they believe in the wisdom of the crowd. So they have a group of people who watch their stuff and vote it or upvote or download it. And only the stuff that gets upvoted to a sufficient amount will make it be put out by Angel Studios. That's why everything they put out is so well made. And but basically, they gave this movie the highest upvote that they'd ever seen. So Angel Studios is like, okay, but we're going to put it out on the July the 4th weekend, the biggest box office weekend in pretty much the whole entire year. And we're going to go up against this juggernaut called Indiana Jones that everybody knows. And so Verostigi, when he heard that, he was like, "Oh no, there's no way. And he asked about marketing budget, and Angel Studios is like, marketing budget. We just market it online. We just basically place the commercial online and on platforms. We don't do any television ad buys. We just put it online with basically encouraging people to reshare. Oh, Poncho, enter the hole indeed. And to some, you don't want to go either end on me right now. I've got botulism, I was telling earlier. Anyway. So what happens? So Angel Studios puts this movie out, and they only get like a limited run. The big Goliath that Disney is kind of like exerted some pressure probably behind the scenes, but they only got a limited run for that first weekend, which was the 4th of July weekend. And it topped Indiana Jones in about 1,000 less theaters. So, not exactly a Marvel movie. A movie about saving kids from human traffickers, which has become really, really prescient. Okay. If half the stuff that's going on that has been we've heard has been going on from our own government. 300,000 children missing. Holy shit. How does that happen in modern world? But that's a conservative estimate of how many children have been trafficked by our own government. So this movie comes out and it holds its audience, and then it goes nationwide because people saw the numbers and they're like, screw you, Disney. We need money. We need money makers. And so they put it in theaters. But because of the secular worldview of theater employees, there were shenanigans all the way across America. And truck stop tacos. No, but it was a truck stop. But it was the strawberry rhubarb pie left in a pie plate under glass next to the register. Yeah. Anyway, so essentially, what happened is that people became determined to see this movie in theaters. It became like a quest. It became like a determination that they were going to see this movie. And everywhere it went, everywhere it actually showed, where nobody interfered with it, it got standing ovations. The movie was good. It was powerful. And it was basically produced, written, and had a lot of stars that were Central American. So, what's going to happen? Oscars come around, complete shutout. Because secular worldview was not there, and that's all that they'll promote, secular worldview. So, with this movie, it basically launched Angel Studios in the stratosphere. They had some great follow-ups, movies that have been very well received. And they have stuff on their app that's very well received. And they're becoming bigger and bigger. Bit of a heavy mood tonight. Yeah. Sorry, man. It's been a tough day. But what happens, what I'm talking about is that the Christian worldview is about to make a huge comeback. I mean, huge comeback. And Christian worldview covers not only Christianity, it covers Mormons, it covers Judaism. Anybody that has a worldview that points people up and has a belief in faith. Elon declaring war on groomers, yeah. Yeah, Elon's going after the UK government, and they are running scared right now. So, but anyway, so the secular worldview is dying. It's losing its hold on the culture. And everything, I mean, when you look at cartoons that we loved, they all had a Christian worldview. even if they weren't overtly Christian. You know, one of my favorite cartoons growing up was The Last Unicorn, and The Last Unicorn was a basically a parable about faith, uh, and friendship and camaraderie and overcoming fear, and doesn't have much of a, it doesn't have any like an overt Christian theme to it, but it's a Christian worldview. We were talking earlier about music, and music. The 90s had this really big surge, but I think the rejection of the Clinton era um, basically produced a huge surge in Christian rock, Christian contemporary rock. And suddenly, some of these groups were household names, you know, Big Tent Revival, Third Day, you know, people like that. And I got albums, you know, in my collection from them. And the music was uplifting. The music was a Christian worldview, and basically, it ruled the charts for about 6 years there. And since, a lot of those people have come out as being anti-Christian. So you're like, okay, you never believed a word of what you were singing. You were just singing it because it got you play on radio. But the message remains. Those albums still touch people today, even if they know that Jars of Clay are a bunch of are full of shit. But the albums still remain. They're still great albums. They're still very listenable. You know, people like Skillet, who never shifted their dynamic, are bigger than ever. And this is happening all across culture. Parallels to 1930s Germany are undeniable. Yeah. Yeah. What we're coming out of is we're coming out of a long cultural subversion, a artificial suppression of the Christian worldview through BlackRock ESG funds. You know, they got rid of meritocracy, which is Christian worldview thing. They believe in pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps. It's Americana. It's right in the core of what makes America great. Are you good? Can you do the job? Can you do it better than that guy? You're hired. Doesn't matter what your skin color is. Doesn't matter what your, if you're male or female. If you can do the job, you're hired, you know? And because of the secular humanism suppression of that, you know, companies are just like dying, especially companies based that have influence on pop culture like Disney. They're dying. And then you got Universal Studios that is putting out like incredible stuff that is about to hit the market in the middle of this year, and it's going to bury Disney World, the last cash cow that Disney has. Why? Because the same people that Disney kicked out the door at the Disney World because of DEI, didn't matter if they're good. All that matters is they didn't check a mark. All that matters is secular humanism, you know, which says that you are devalued as a person. You are just a check mark, because any human is no human's irreplaceable. That's secular humanism. And DEI is like a cancer of secular humanism. And so what happens, they kicked a lot of these guys out of their parks. Suddenly the parks started shutting down. Suddenly the parks started, you know, things that they unveiled had no class and no style, and they're all derivative. And then Universal puts out a Universal Monster Land, which I pretty much made little girl noises when I saw it. Not gonna lie, love Universal Monsters. And where did they get the technology, the technological know-how? Where did they get that influx of creativity that used to be a hallmark of Disney parks? Where did they get that? A lot of unemployed white males. And Universal's like, you're good. We know you're good. You're hired. You know, bring that Disney magic over here. We'll let you. We're meritocracy. You know, let's see what you got. And it's going to hit like with a thud. I am very tempted to, if I can make up the money, to go down to Universal Monsterland. I mean, I really, really dig the look of it. Anyway, the swing away from meritocracy is now swing back was all orchestrated to present you with AI leadership as the solution. Hegelian dialectic. Yeah. Well, they dumbed down everything so much that they could replace human writers with AI. They could replace human artists with AI because they promoted people who weren't as good as AI consistently. And so they're trying to shift the whole entire culture to AI. And because they're all secular humanists, and when human is the collective is more important than the human, the individual human. Trans and all the alphabet people are about to get used to transhumanism. Are about to get you used to transhumanism. Yeah. Yep. That's definitely moving that direction. The problem is, this is the big problem, is all of these shifts were only successful in blue areas. All of these shifts, because the complete capture of the local governmental apparatus, they're able to put these policies in place. And right now you're seeing what happens when DEI takes over meritocracy in the LA Fire Department. And then you got this GLAAD magazine thing that's saying that she's doing such a great job. She is doing such an incredible job. And it's like, dude, they just burnt the Palisades to the ground. How is that a good job? You know? And it's like decision after decision after decision after decision made from secular humanism that has no love for the community, has no love for their fellow man. But evidently some little sardine-looking fish was important enough to drain the reservoir into the sea, the reservoir of like melted snow into the sea, but to save a sardine that may or may not be indigenous to California. That's why they have no water to fight their fires. Secular humanism. And AGI is in control of all media since the Battle of Seattle in '99 WTO protest. And how could you predict a wildfire in California? Well, Trump did 9 years ago. There's footage of it. He told Gavin Newsom, you need to rake your forest, get all the underbrush out, and you need to cut fire breaks. Or there's going to come a fire that's going to wipe it off the face of the planet. Joe Rogan predicted it not more than 2 months ago. He said, I know people inside California who have told me that if the wind blows the right way and there's a spark, that it's going to burn LA all the way to the sea. 2 months ago, look it up. What? You know, Joe Rogan's not a Christian, but Joe Rogan has a Christian worldview. Joe Rogan wants to help his fellow man. Joe Rogan wants to inform. He wants to have conversations. He wants to move humanity forward. And he's getting more and more spiritual as he goes. Because secular humanism leads you to God one way or another. Sarcasm. Yeah, I'm sorry, WEF Pazzi. I didn't catch on to it. Ahoy, buddy. California is run by idiots. Yes, it is. Rogan is a closeted Christian. Well, I think that he has leanings that way. So is Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson he comes right up to the edge all the time. But he can't turn his brain off and have faith. But his wife did. And his wife is a big influence on him. So, yeah. He will be. Yeah, I believe so. But what happens is, like The Chosen, for instance. Chosen is Angel Studios is basically run by a Mormon family, and trying to put back into culture things that the Christian worldview. Now, is Mormonism a form of Christianity? No, it's not. I'm not going to say that, but they have a Christian worldview. And so they found a guy named Dallas Jenkins, whose father, Jerry B. Jenkins, put out the Left Behind series. And he was coming off a biggest failure of his life. And he and his wife were just completely, totally flabbergasted. They didn't know what to do. And then they got a call from Angel Studios about a movie that they produced for their church. And the guy who is basically put the deal together is a Jewish lawyer. Mormons, Christian, Jews, all three together put together The Chosen, the biggest stream show right now in the world. We can't get the actual numbers, but they're there. And so there you go. And so what's happening is the Christian worldview is gaining power. It's gaining cohesion. They're finding each other. People with this belief in Christian worldview are finding each other, and they're putting out stuff that is so undeniably good that the mainstream can't suppress it anymore, because they have nothing to offer except the secular humanism that is just burned through the whole entire culture, and everybody's sick of it. Everybody's sick of it. Oh, God bless Mel Gibson. Yep. California is once a great state to live in. I know I was born and raised there. I'm so glad I moved to Arizona. Gotta run. Guys, have a good night. All right, see you, WEF. Later, dude. Back 16 years ago. Okay. Completed that. Well, essentially what I'm talking about is this shift that's coming. And this is what's next. We talk about what I see on the horizon. I could be wrong, okay? But I've gone back and checked predictions before. I predicted the spanking that Mufasa would get from Sonic 3 in the box office over December. I predicted that. I went back and watched that video, and I predicted it. Of course, anybody could see that coming. That's not really big on me. But essentially, the Christian worldview is gaining power. It's gaining speed. And it's because of the burning of Hollywood, the symbolic and literal physical burning of Hollywood, it looks like Sodom must have looked like. Take that how you will. But because of the literal burning down of Hollywood, and all those actors and actresses are not going to be able to live there because this big land grab going on, and they took their insurances. And right before this happened, same thing happened in North Carolina, same thing happened in Maui. The insurance company suddenly up and canceled. And now these people are left with properties that they can't. And Buncombe County is seizing properties left and right for lack of tax, lack of being able to pay the taxes. That's coming. And the secular humanists are taking over these properties. And the people who have pledged allegiance to secular humanism, namely these people in Pacific Palisades who voted almost 85% for Kamala Harris, they're looking around. They're seeing how they're being treated. And Adam Carolla called it. He says the moment they try to rebuild and they have to go through the permit process, they're going to wind up being a whole lot more on the conservative side afterwards, which is what happened to Bill Maher. Bill Maher, trying to build a solar shack, went through like red tape like you wouldn't believe. And it came out the end of it, at the other end, a lot more conservative than he went in. And so here you got this big figure coming in who believes in a Christian worldview, the value of the individual, and basically the sovereignty of a nation, and the freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom that this country was founded on, whether you like him or not. That's what he stands for. And what we got going out, secular humanism had a presidency. That's what's going out. Secular humanism had a presidency. Now, one could argue that Obama was secular humanist, and that we're basically dealing with the third Obama presidency. That's a pretty decent argument to make. But they got their Messiah in Obama, and they made a religion out of it, and they got rid of their biggest obstacle in Trump, and they had their way. And the big edicts of secular humanism, the individual's not important, morality is not important, and your free will is not important. That's the three tenets of secular humanism. Tell me we haven't had that for 3 or 4 years. And people woke up in droves. What did they wake up to? They woke up to the Christian worldview, because the Christian worldview says you're important, your free will is important, and your family's well-being is important. And people are like, you know what? I'm tired of being a cog in a wheel. I'm tired of suppressing my own free will for this craziness. I'm tired of looking at some female going into a girl's restroom. I'm sorry, I'm tired of a male going into some female's restroom, with hair on the calves. And in a lot of cases, they're pedophiles. Happens a lot. Ask about prison rapes from trans individuals. Ask about that number sometime. It will keep you up at night. Those are women that are caged and can't get out. And most of them have abusive backgrounds. And suddenly they get stuck with their, some abusive person who basically has child rape tattooed on them. And then because they decided to speak at a higher register and call themselves violent, they're your new roommate. And that's secular humanism. People are rejecting it. We're about to see a huge shift towards the Christian worldview. Is that going to increase Christianity? I don't know. In the long run, it might. But I do know, at least in the short run, Hollywood's burned down. So Diaz of Porras happened. There's studios popping up all over that have no ties to Hollywood. There's one in Vegas I know about. Now, Daily Wire has evidently gotten over their skis and had to cancel their Snow White project. And when Brett Cooper left, that's disappointing. But they're making the reason they got over their skis is they're making the Pendragon Cycle, a fantasy series with a Christian worldview, and it got expensive on them, and that's why they had to cancel Snow White. But that's going to be awesome when it comes out, and it'll probably make up for a lot of things they lost. But it's happening. The world, basically the mainstream news sources and pop culture mavens and critics are fiddling while the Rome is burning to the ground. They're fiddling. This is fine. This is fine. Let me play you this clip. This sums it up. This is a conversation that C.S. Lewis had, or that J.R.R. Tolkien had with C.S. Lewis, talking about. I'll let him say it. Here you go.
Tell us, what did you mean by catastrophe, a new catastrophe?
Well, for example, it has the catastrophe of the fall and the eucatastrophe of the redemption. It has the catastrophe of the crucifixion and the eucatastrophe of the resurrection. It has everything man's heart desires, because it is being told by the one who is the fulfillment of desire itself. Fulfillment of desire itself. It is a story that begins and ends in joy.
But just because a story brings joy, it doesn't necessarily follow that it's true. There are many joyful myths. They all seem rather flimsy to me and ring rather false.
And yet this story has the inner consistency of reality. There is no tale ever told that men would rather find was true, and none which so many skeptical men have accepted as true on its own merits.
Perhaps it's just a very well-written artifice.
This story has the supremely convincing tone of primary art, not fiction, but of creation. And to reject this leads either to darkness or to wrath. And in my own life, it has led me from darkness to light.
Astonishing. You absolutely astonish me.
Now, that shows the difference between the worldviews. One leads to darkness and wrath. What are we looking at right now? And the other one leads you from darkness to light. People want light. People are starving for light. People are lost without light. And the pop culture is about to give them a lot of light. So that's been Cooper for Telepathic Bunny Comics. One more comment. Thought Daily Wire Snow White movie is more of a troll than serious. Were they seriously pursuing that? Yeah, they were pursuing it. But they hadn't started production or anything, so they were able to cancel it. But when Brett Cooper left Daily Wire from shenanigans, they didn't treat her like a human, so maybe they have a bit of secular humanism in them. But essentially, what we're about to see is a shift from darkness and wrath, from darkness to wrath, which is what been the last 4 years and pretty much the last couple decades. We're about to see people go from darkness to light, and that light is the Christian worldview. The light of the world, the light of all humanity, is about to get a huge platform out in society. We're about to see some stuff. Okay. And we also have to watch out for the counterfeit, because the counterfeit's going to rise up just as equally. This is actually predicted in Revelations as a turn back to God, right before everything goes off the rails. And I think that's what we're about to go into, is a turn back to Christ. And or turn back to the Christian worldview at the very least. But it's coming. So that's my prediction. That's what's next. Follow the White Rabbit, and we will see you Saturday night, 7 o'clock, where we decide, was Timothy McVeigh acting alone when he bombed Oklahoma City? It's part of our trilogy, so we're going to do that. Western culture and society is based on the Christian worldview. Yep. When you get back to it. Birds in the gardens, trees, watch out. There you go. Snakes in those trees are even scarier. Anyway, so thank you all for coming. I'll see you Saturday night, 7 o'clock. And Cryptids and Conspiracies with me and the Parkours. See you there. Bye, everybody.